The equals method is a method that will take two-dimensional arrays as a parameters, and it will check index by index in order to get in order to check if both arrays are the same. So in other words, if both arrays are identical, this means the number of rows, the number of columns, and the content are the same from both arrays. If that is true, then your method shall return true. Otherwise, it should return false. The method looks like this. We're going to create a method called public static boolean. Since we're going to return true or false, we have to indicate is a boolean value. The method is called equals. And as you know, we take two-dimensional arrays, A and B, in order to make sure they're the same. The first thing we have to do is to check if both rows are the same. If both number of rows are the same. That means if the A.length is not equal to the B.length. Or we can assume that also is a non-regular array, and therefore the array at position 0.length, which corresponds to the number of columns, doesn't have to be the same as B position 0.length. If they're not the same, then we can go home safely and say, you know what, these are false. If this is not the case, then we have to check index by index from both arrays. Now we can safely say that at this point we know that the number of rows from A and B are the same, and the number of columns from A and B, they're both the same. It doesn't guarantee us that the rest of the content is the same. Therefore, we have to go index by index from both arrays and check if they're the same. We can simply say for every row of an A, we're going to go for every column. So now we can say that for every row in the array A, we can simply go to every column from that array A. And we must check if it happens to be that the array at position I, J, is not the same as an array B, I, J. If they're not the same, that only means one thing. We can go home and say, you know what, they're not the same. Notice that we only need an if statement here. We don't necessarily need an else because this will take care for at least one instance that is not the same. We can simply return false. Now, if we finish all the rows and all the columns successfully and get out of these for loops, it only means one thing, that they're the same. We can try this in our previous example when we create a different array here. Notice that we copy identically both arrays on line 4, but we mutate line 10 with 224. We can also say at the end if they're equals. And we can invoke here the method equals with A and B. We can also set if they're equals A and A, which they are the same. Therefore, we expect a false from the first case and a true for the second case. Let me save, compile, and run this program. At this point, we notice that at the very beginning they're false because we're comparing A and B. Obviously, they're not the same because of the mutation that we made from position 0, 0. Now, when we went to compare A and A, both are the same. That's why we return true.